right. Look how dirty that windshield is. Oh my, oh my. Let's just tidy that up real quick. Well, that's just a bit better. Okay. Odd jobs. Deli or delicatessen job. All right. Now, I worked one years ago for Hank Vendetti in Marina Del Rey, California. I was under 21, and I had worked at his dinner house, and I had opted to go over and help out at this new deli he had built. I knew Hank Vendetti personally. Uh, my daddy, my baby sister, and I used to go to the restaurant very often. Very elegant, uh, upper grade type of Italian restaurant. And the man gave me a job. Uh, it was really neat. And so I went to go work in a brand new deli he had built. And it was just a small deli. The sandwich thing and all that kind of stuff. I never had to cut any meat. I worked at the deli case, selling things out of the case, and working the cash register, greeting customers, being friendly to customers, and some people that I actually knew that happened to come in there, I knew like from school and stuff, from grade school. So nice job, great city and location, and it was fun. Now, all these years later, so I go to work a deli at a grocery store, and a deli is one of your star attractions at a grocery store. Um, the deli has hot food generally, fresh meats that they slice. Some have soups, some have salads, um, handmade sandwiches. Uh, they do deli platters for large amounts of people and things like this, and just kind of a variety of types of things. Um, if you go to a store like, I guess it's Publix. Yes, I worked a deli today. Very interesting. Um, uh, I think it's Publix, which is a upper scale name brand grocery store, kind of higher end. Their deli has like soups, and you can even get soda pops, like soda fountain. Like at a gas station, you serve yourself kind of thing. They have all kinds of stuff, but they're all a bit different. Those that do have delis, there's a lot of grocery store chains that don't have delis, and that could be because of repeated violations. They were shut down. It does take a lot to run anything that's food, whether it be fast food or a full-on restaurant. My friend Pat Robertson, that owns several Sonics across the United States, we used to talk quite a bit, and I did some advertising design for him and the church, and did a few billboards and things. And then I also had the opportunity to work for him. I volunteered to, so I could understand the quality of the food, how it's put together, and the pride that's involved in all that by his ownership. He was very precise, very specific, and whether you're working food and beverage and fine dining restaurant, or fast food or deli, any of those types of things, there's a lot of things that are very, very important. One of the things is utilities. Anything that's used to heat, whether it's your curling iron for your hair, a hair dryer, a dryer for clothing, a fryer, an oven, a rotisserie, any items that heat use a ton more current than things that cool. That's a fact. Um, so, you know, that's one thing to understand. It costs huge amounts of money. Pat would tell me, my uh, uh, gas and electric bill for, running the grill and fryers and things like that. He'd say, because Sonic Drive-In, they're really popular for those onion rings. I don't know if you're an onion ring person, but boy, I love good onion ring. I love vegetables. And so, he's like, my bill is like 3,000 a month, and I'm like, my gosh. It takes a huge amount of money to, operate something that's with food. I don't like food for a profit because I don't find a lot of profit in food. Because liquor has always beat that, hands down. I was in partnership in Seven Cocktail Lounges many, many years ago in California. We had two dinner houses, and they were nothing major. Um, it was just kind of a courtesy thing to keep people sober in the bar because if they say they're hungry and they leave, they say they're going to come right back, they don't. So you can keep them in the bar if you can serve them a good hot meal, and they won't leave. Plus, they're sober, and you don't get in trouble for a drunk driver. That's another liability. If you serve someone that's already drunk, they get in a car wreck, kill somebody, it comes back on the last club they were at because they were served too much. So there's laws for that. So the biggest thing in food and beverage of any type is your Board of Health regulations. Extremely important. Okay. Um, it gets to the point of, my best description would be almost like working in a hospital in the operating room. Everything has to be absolutely sterile. And your employees need to be fully responsible and aware of the laws and how to keep it clean and be responsible to keep it clean because you can actually cause a death. That's a fact. No lie. Not dragging it out, just being honest. Um, one, if you can get a chance to take a food safety course, that is a great thing to know. Whether you're a bartender or a waitress, or you're working, as a chef in a back house of a dinner house, whatever, anything to do with food and beverage, it's a great thing to be able to take a course to understand, the laws and regulations for cleanliness within a business of that type. It's really important because these are your customers. They don't come back dead and make purchases. Okay. Lawsuits come. It closes businesses down. And the Board of Health person with that clipboard coming rolling through there, they are not the nicest, funnest people. Trust me, I have personally dealt with them in my own businesses, and you can't bribe them, you can't do anything with them. They are like, Hitler. You can't make them bend nothing. They are absolutely following the rules. You aren't sliding for nothing. And pray. I've only known very few businesses, as far as food and beverage, that cleared an inspection 100% with the Board of Health. They come in when they feel like it. They don't give you notice. They come rolling in there, and they are like the police. And they can walk right behind it in your counters, in your coolers. They can take parts of your stove apart. They can look in ovens. They can look underneath, in between, flashlight. They can do a lot of things. They see one cockroach, one rat, anything. Development of grease. Um, that your fire systems aren't certified. All kinds of things. Uh, they can turn around and give you a bunch of check marks and give you a really low rating. It's usually like 1 to 100%, and they can fail you complete. They can stop you from doing business. They can literally tell you, you better shut this bad baby down. All customers are gone, and you got a lot to do. And they can tell you for however long they feel like it. They can turn around and say, well, when we get around to coming back when you're ready, call us. And we'll try to get by, in the next few days or a week as soon as we get a chance. So now out of days of operation. And that costs you money. And you have employees that are depending on a paycheck. So it's really, really, really important for these employees to understand, your Board of Health regulations. It's pretty standard across the United States and around the world. It's pretty standard. But again, food and beverage, it has to be handled pretty much like um, an operating room in a hospital. It's got to be super, super clean, super sterile all the time. Hairnet, you need to wear a hairnet. If you have a beard, you got to wear a beard net. That's right. Um, uh, let's go over. Let's see. Meat slicers. Meat slicers must be operating properly. If they're making any metal on metal, banging noise, anything, guards aren't clipping on properly or not fitting, they need to order new ones. Um, the biggest problem with slicers is, making sure they're thoroughly clean, top to bottom, and the counter they sit on. Having to pay hours, food safety. Okay, well, hours vary depending on the business and the hours it's open. Some grocery stores are, just open till, 8 or 9 p.m. Some might be open just a hair later. Generally, delis shut down prior to the store closing for the evening because there's a lot of cleaning involved. They would rather clean to not attract rodents and things like this because, food drippings and food shavings and food dropped, food spilled that has not been cleaned up yet. Um, it takes a lot of time to do it, and you don't want to leave that out. It's just like you're putting out, a very nice buffet dinner for cockroaches, rats, whatever. I have seen rats in a restaurant as big as a cat. I am not kidding you. I've seen it 3 times in my life. Yeah, if a restaurant is not clean, it will attract really big rats, and they're going to stay for the banquet every day. Okay? And they love to live up in ceilings of bars, ceilings of restaurants, anything that has food in it. And then, of course, they're going to come out when everybody leaves. Yeah, and it's really hard to fumigate or anything like that. You have to call professionals to do that because you've got food products and, things that handle food in that area, and they're pros. They know how to handle all these things. So that's another thing of the business. But, if you walk into a place that's ultimately clean, it looks like you could do surgery in there if you were a doctor. Okay? That's a really clean place. Okay? There shouldn't be grease drippings down side of ovens. The campanas above fryers or stoves should not have, brown tinge to them and grease dripping off. Those have built-in fire nozzles and sprayers in the event of a fire, so that automatically the fire system automatically turns on and starts spraying like you're taking a shower in the bathroom, and will not stop spraying. Because it's absolutely, important because it takes a little time for the fire department to get there. You hope that your fire system is in good operation and you're having it checked regularly and inspected and so forth, and it will function so that, hopefully your restaurant does not burn to the ground before the fire department arrives. Okay. Um, so, and I don't care if you're right next to a fire hydrant, it's right outside the door of your business. They still have to come and hook up a hose. Okay, so it takes time. So these things are all very, very, very important. But let's go back to slicers. Slicers get food underneath them, in between different parts of the slicer. I don't care if it's automatic the cut is of the meat and all that. Slicers shouldn't be mixed. You should separate your slicers. If you're cutting milk products like cheese and things like this, that should go on one slicer, and then your meats should go on another slicer. If you have the option that you have more than one meat slicer that you can operate, then it would be a really good idea to keep your red meats on one slicer and all the other meats on another one. It's really an important thing to try not to, uh, I guess, what they would call cross contamination. Um, so that's a really great option if you have the option. You have slicers, grossly expensive. They last for many, many years. You replace motors out of slicers before you replace a slicer. So it's kind of like a car. But I mean, the little meat particles are all over through that slicer. Remember, it's got a big round blade that spins around, just like, one that you use cutting wood to build a porch in your house. Same thing, different day. Um, and you never operate that slicer without guard in place. It's a big pancakey thing that goes over the top of that big round blade. You must have that guard. It doesn't mean that you can't cut your finger off. It's just an added protection in hopes that you don't. Because if you stick your hand up in there, yes, you can, shave your finger off. Um, it's got to be functioning properly. Um, it must have a tread guard to hold that meat down while you're slicing. Okay? Do not ever operate a slicer without those items. They're removable, they're washable. The rest is not. It's a big giant machine. You unplug the slicer from the wall. Make sure you know how to clean it. It's about a 3-step cleaning. You have one that is a soap water. Okay, use a toothbrush. Use uh, a green scrubby pad like a Scotch-Brite. That works real well. Toothbrush is really great, and you've got to get all areas of that slicer, top to bottom, on that upper end, especially stuff that moves. The handle's got to be thoroughly cleaned inside and out. Even though you're using gloves to operate the machine, that handle's got to be clean too. All the surfaces must be clean. If you could take that sucker and dump it in a sink of hot soapy water, it'd be great, because it would be fantastic if you submerge it, but you can't. So, the first thing you're going to do is get all the food bits that you can out from under the slicer. They have a lifting lever where you can take one hand and hold an edge of the slicer and lift it as you're pulling the handle, and it'll cock the thing up on one side so that you can safely get under that machine. It's a very heavy piece of metal, so you don't want to lift it up by yourself and risk dropping it and break your hand, but or dropping it on your feet off the counter, rocking it off the counter, whatever. It's got a thing for that. A big handle that's super safe. One hand lifts the machine up a little bit. The handle loads it back up and cocks it one way. So it kind of is on a slant. That way you can get from under the machine, make sure it's unplugged again, unplug that machine. And you're going to look at the countertop, and you're going to start wiping the meat shreddings out from under there. Then you take the entire machine and turn it sideways. Look front and back on that counter. Okay, it's usually stainless steel counter it'll sit on. Get all that meat stuff that you can, and get that all picked up, and then trash it. Because it'll be everywhere. It's sort of like lint. It's like everywhere. Um, then uh, you want to, go with your first treatment of your soapy water and just soak that bad dude down, okay? Where it's dripping, make sure you got a floor squeegee and a drain so that, they usually have floor drains in them, in the floors of these delis. Just like back house in a restaurant, they'll have floor drains because they literally bring garden hoses in to hose them down in a lot of the restaurants. It's pretty impressive. Uh, and so that way, if you're doing it while business is in operation, then you can make sure nobody slips back there while you're doing it because, you really want to get it clean. Okay, it's really important. And that water is seeping through different areas of that slicer. It's drawing out shreds of meat you can't even see. Okay, so you can be fighting those little shreds of meat all day long, like dandruff or lint. Okay, so you get it as clean as possible. Get a toothbrush. You've got to wear two sets of gloves. You've got to wear a heavy duty glove, which looks like a gardening glove. You've got to wear rubber gloves underneath that. Okay, that's for your protection to keep you from slicing your hands up, okay, while you're cleaning the slicer, okay? Because you get really in there, sort of like doing an oil painting, Uh, it's really precise. There's a lot to clean. You just keep your mind on doing that job, and it's not a quick job. I'm telling you, it's not a quick job. It takes, I'm gonna say, 20 to 30 minutes to try to do all the steps and clean one slicer. That means that slicer is down. And it would be really good if you don't get interrupted while doing this process because you can keep it going. You can do, your wash, your rinse, and then, your sanitizer. And then, you can wait till let it air dry to evaporate off. If you've got to have the slicer right away, you're going to have to wipe it. But you really need to have the sanitizer on there for a bit before you operate it. And you don't have to rinse the sanitizer off. You want to leave that on there. So, you do your first wash. Try to get as much of that meat up as you can. It's going to be flying out everywhere. You're going to go, I can't believe it. I've just got all this meat out of this thing and there's still bits coming out. So use lots of soapy water so it'll run through everything and drip off of it. And hit that counter. Wash the counter. Okay. Then you dump that water out and you rinse the bucket out. Now you put about 3 inches of clear hot water in that bucket. And you get a throwaway wipey, okay, which are these towels that come in boxes that are used in delis. And you pull out that wipey out of the top, or pull out 3 of them, whatever you think is good, and then start, you know, dipping that thing into that little bucket of water or big bucket, whatever you're using. It's usually like a spaghetti sauce bucket, and then you're gonna go through and wash this thing down, every bit of that top end of that slicer, and then you're gonna do your countertop, and then you just sweep it off that countertop, and then you go and squeegee the floor, just like a squeegee you use on your car window or your house windows, and squeegee that immediately into the drain in the floor so nobody slips in it, including yourself. And then you'll start your third process where you spray it with your sterilizer sanitizer. Okay, you have to make a fresh bottle of it. All these chemicals are located inside your restaurant or your deli. So you immediately make a fresh big bottle, just like a spray bottle, okay, of this sanitizer, and you spray the entire top of this machine, the handle, the blade, everything. It's wet. Spray it down. Okay. You can cock the thing up. You can lower it back down to get into other spots. You can cock it back up again. You spray it down. You can wait. Let it air dry. It's going to take a little bit. You spray your counter down. Okay. Or you can wait a little bit and then go ahead and dry it off with a, wipey, some fresh, clean wipies. And then you'll go in the kitchen and two parts that you have removed from the machine. Now the machine is still unplugged. Remember, water does not mix well with electric. The piece that holds the meat down with the little grippy stuff on it. It's kind of like tire tread, but it's plastic. And then it's about a 4x4 piece that it goes into a hole and we screw it down. Okay. And then you've got the big blade cover, which is like a big pancake thing. And you got to mount that over that big round blade. And then you lock it down with the little plastic tabs. They swing around in a circle on the back side of that blade setup. And that's your guard, okay? They make bad noises if you're running without it. I've done it. And not even knowing, you know? And, but it's really important. You need to have those pieces on that machine. The meat will slip off all day long. And it cuts really strange, and it's not safe. I didn't even know. Somebody did not show me the first time I ever did that in my life, and it's really important. Um, but that's what happens when you work with a bunch of jamokes. Okay, so anyway, the reason that you need to, do that 3-step process. I've seen people take a little wad of some toweling there and spray with that sterilizer, sanitizer spray, and kind of wipe in there in the grooves and all that, and not want to sterilize because they're lazy. Not like they don't have time; they're just lazy. But let me tell you what, that is very, very, very bad. Guess what happens? Now the law, if you open a slicer up, you should have the person sign on a little piece that's next to the slicer, mounted on the wall or whatever, or on the slicer, on the counter, wherever. If you open a slicer, it's by time. And you should have the employees sign their name and put in big giant numbers like a kindergartner, okay? With a dry erase pen. So the customer can see it from the other side of the counter, so anybody else can see it, and that way they get called on if they're running a slicer past time, because you have 4 hours to run that slicer. 4, that's it, by Board of Health regulation. 4 hours to run that slicer before it must be broken down and cleaned. Now, why do you think that is? Yes, it's Board of Health regulation. It is a law. It is in stone, in concrete. Why would you think that you only get 4 hours time to run that slicer and it has to be broken down and cleaned? Well, I'm going to tell you why. You can get listeria, 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 amongst other things, from a meat slicer. Yes, disinfecting it. But you can get listeria. Listeria will kill you. Okay? So, I think that's a really good learning lesson there, because if the customer dies because you run that slicer overtime, They can't come back to pay your paycheck by shopping in your store. Rule 1, if you get caught by Board of Health operating a slicer that's expired, or they can see that you Mickey Moused with the time on it, or anything like that, or they saw you do it, or a customer reported it, okay, um, it's $1,000 fine. Go ahead and slice that meat on a slicer. I don't care. It's 10 seconds after expiration or 4 hours. $1,000 fine to you as the cutter. That's right. That's the first problem. Next, it goes through management. Next, it goes through the owner. They can have their license and permits yanked where they can't run food anymore. Okay. It just goes into a lot of things. You get lawsuits. That's in any state. You get lawsuits. How would you like that family suing you because their mother or grandmother died because they bought meat and it was proven from the autopsy and the last receipt and credit card transaction they made before they died? Well, then, or the complaint they made in the emergency room while they were so deathly ill. And they say, well, what did you eat today? Did you take any medicines? Tell us what you ate today. And they named the store that you worked in. Well, I went to the deli. Okay. When I see people that will run on expired slicers, I really would like to slice a piece of meat off, give them the choice of their favorite meat, slice one off, lay it on the counter on that tissue, and say, you want to eat that? But let me tell you something before you do. The slicer's been expired. It's over the limit. And there's a huge possibility you'll get listeria. If you don't know what it is, you should probably look it up on the internet before you dare to take a bite. Would you take that meat home to your mother, your grandmother, from work? Would you watch them eat it? Okay, this is really a serious matter. I see this all the time where employees will absolutely refuse to clean a slicer. Okay? You've got to watch the slicer times. It's absolutely must. If you work in a place where they're acting like banana heads like that and you got extra slicers, take them and unplug them, pull those guards off, throw them in the sink in the back. You rinse them off and then put them in the soapy water so they can soak. And let's see what they do then. I've seen employees pull those out of the sinks and throw them back up on a slicer because they're mad. Really? How mad are you? Are you mad like MADD, like you have mental problems that you like to kill people? How mad is that? These are our customers. What are you doing? If you cannot follow Board of Health regulations in food and beverage of any type, please don't work in the business. If you don't know about these things, look it up on the internet and research it so that you know in the event no one has told you. It's very serious. Food poisonings from restaurants, listeria from slicers, okay, that haven't been serviced or cleaned properly. It's very serious. If you're too lazy to do it, you don't think it's a cool thing to do, don't do that job. Go sell clothing. Go do something else. Go work for a rental car agency. Cut yards, whatever, something. Please don't work in food and beverage if you cannot be responsible and you're lazy. Because you may kill somebody's mother or grandmother or daddy because you don't care and you're too lazy. Okay? So a slicer is one of your utmost important items if you're slicing meat in a restaurant or a deli. It's really important to know these things, and always watch your crew like a hawk, because it's very dangerous. It shuts businesses down. It kills people. Listeria, Listeria. Check it out. It's serious biz. So, that's one of the first things. Uh, when you're slicing meat, it's a good idea to say, how thin do you want it? How thick do you want it? Most of the time, these people don't have a clue. They just want to be famous and have meat sliced for them instead of buying a package of Oscar Mayer bologna or whatever, already sliced in package. They're paying more for the service. And most delis don't sell cheapo cheese or meat. Okay? They're going to sell something that's a little more higher end or rare, like your Munster cheeses or your provolone, things like this, in a better name brand. And certain stores, keep their own brands. It's Publix or this other store that does Boar's Head Meats. One of them, I can't think of which one it is. They do Boar's Head Meats. And a lot of people like that Boar's Head meat, but it's not sold everywhere. Like Walmart doesn't sell Boar's Head meats. There's several stores I've been into that don't sell Boar's Head. I mean, I could take it or leave it. You know what I mean? Meat is meat. I'm just as good buying the El Cheapo store brand that's in the cooler than going to have it sliced. And especially, I have no way to refrigerate anything at this moment. So I don't want to waste a butcher's time slicing enough for one sandwich. I mean, to me, that's rude. Okay? There's people that'll do it, though. I had 1/4 of a pound, Okay? And if I owned a deli, I would say, look, since COVID, I kind of like prepackaged stuff. Yeah, I know it. I know people that won't even eat in restaurants their whole entire life because they're scared. They're scared it's not clean enough. Okay. Yeah. After some of the things I've heard in my lifetime of what they're doing in restaurants, I may have to, agree. And that's not agree to disagree. I mean, agree. I've heard some weird stuff. But anyway, so, this cleaning is so important. But, the customer's going to ask you for different thicknesses. When they say shaved, I want my meat shaved. God, if that isn't the most painful job on the face of this earth. If you're working on slicers that are used constantly from open to close, okay, they're going to get dull all the time. And it's just really painful when somebody says, I want it shaved. Shaved means trashed, like almost ground up, where it doesn't even resemble a slice of meat. Okay? Trash. It looks like tuna out of the can. I'm not sure what they use this for. I'm thinking maybe they pile it on crackers. I don't know why anybody would make a sandwich with something that's shaved. Unless they're trying to make like a dippy kind of thing you put inside a sandwich, maybe. I don't know. But I think it's horrible. And it's just too much junk you're piling up on top. Why not just eat it like a man? Okay? You want to see me make a sandwich? I'm not a big sandwich person. But, I'm not a fan of fried food. But if I'm making a sandwich, it's going to be man style, right? I'm going to, have one big thick piece of ham, or turkey, or I'm going to take and, I'm going to, have a package of stuff, and I'm going to take out about 4 slices of meat, like 3 or 4 slices of cheese. I'm laying it on there, buddy, because that's got to be a meal. I just don't want 2 slices of bread and some junk in there. I want it to be a meal, one sandwich, okay? And so I'm gonna make it right. It's just like having a steak. Well, you wouldn't have a steak without mashed potatoes and gravy, or baked potato and some veggies, would you? You got to have the whole deal. You know what I mean? So Uh, they'll order weird stuff like that, or they'll come in and they'll say, "I want one slice." When I hear one slice, it sounds like they're going to eat it before they get out of the store and throw, the bag away. But there are people that are on restricted diets or weightlifters or whatever, and they need one slice, a certain weight, to lay on a salad or whatever, or they're cooking something. Maybe it's an omelet, who knows? Okay, one slice. I've seen it in cheese and meat. One slice. Cut me a slice on number 3. And you're like, okay. And but there are people that will actually, order that for a reason. It's they've got to have so many. They're taking so many calories, and they don't want any more than that. Um, uh, they're almost vegetarian. They're a weightlifter, and they've got to have so many carbs and all these different things. They're going to rip it up and throw it on top of a salad. Um, who knows? They may be making an omelet, okay, and they just want that much meat, okay, to where they could just kind of chop it into cubes and throw it into that omelet. It's weird but true. Um, and why they're going to pay that kind of money for high end meats and cheeses for a slice? Look, I would have had trouble. I will be the first person to be riding in my car if I had a house, okay, and be like going, "Hey, grab that package of sliced ham back there from that deli," you know, give me a couple slices. Um, Meat and cheese is evil. Great snack thing. Pepperonis, any of that stuff. It's fantastic. Everybody loves a nice cold slice of ham or turkey or cheddar cheese or any of that. I mean, we love that. Mozzarella, provolone. I mean, yeah. So, they will ask for stuff like that. Um, Make sure and call it out frequently. Go from the slicer with that meat on the papers and lay it on top of the scale in front of them. Call those numbers out. If they ordered a pound and a half, call those numbers out. 0.50. Sometimes they're just going to go, just give it to me now, because they're in a hurry. There you can go to the next customer. That's over with. Or they're going to say, yeah, just keep on cutting. And if you're slightly over, you can force them to accept it. If they order 1 pound, and trust me, we are not all magicians. It's sort of like door dashing. You don't know everybody's address. You're not a taxi driver. And you don't know exactly how many slices it's going to take at a certain thickness, unless you've probably been a butcher for years and years and years to get to that point. Okay? It's really a trick. Different meats weigh different amounts. Different meats are dense. When you're cutting ham, it's like cutting a damn tree. Okay? When you're cutting turkey, it's kind of like jumping off of there. Wham! It's super lightweight. If you're cutting chicken, same thing. It's really lightweight. So, a 1 pound stack of turkey is huge compared to 1 pound stack of ham. We're talking about 3 slices of ham, okay? Versus, 3-inch high stack of turkey or chicken. So, call those weights out. Even if you have to do it 4 times, walking back and forth to that scale in front of that customer. 0.5 out. Kind of look at it, slice some more slices, give a good guess. 0.75. Sir or miss. Always say miss. Don't ever say ma'am. That is horrible. I made $100 tip calling the lady miss, who was basically in her 70s. One time she looked really young, okay? Yeah, I like those Benjamins. How about you? And then you turn around and you say, well, I'm getting close, so I'll throw a few more slices on there. If you turn around to that slicer and they requested 1 pound to begin with, and you come out with 1.16 or 1.11 or 1.35, call it out. 99% of the time, although the customer ordered 1 pound, they will say, that's fine. I'll take it. And you don't have an argument. You don't have to take meat off of there because you can't stuff it back in the bag. That is not cool. Meat, big chunks of meat go in a big Ziploc bag, and you don't throw junk in there. Okay? So I hope you donate a lot for whatever store you're working at. Don't ever throw that meat away. It needs to be written off and donated, and you get full price for it on your taxes. So you're not losing and you're helping people. Don't throw it in the trash. But most of the time the customer will purchase it. They'll go, that's good enough, you know. And your weights on a pound, what is it, quarter pound, half pound, 3/4 pound, it's just like quarters in a dollar. How many quarters does it take to make a dollar? Okay, 1 pound is $1, right? So it takes 4 quarters to make a dollar. That's all you need to know. If they say I want 1/4 pound, it's 25 cents. 0.25. 0.25. It represents a quarter. 0.25. That's what you want to cut on that scale. 0.25. They want half a pound, it's 2/4 of a dollar. Okay? That's 0.50 cents, right? 0.50 is going to be the same on your scale. 0.50 is a half of a pound. Okay? If they want 3/4 pound, it's 3/4. 3/4 equals 75 cents, right? Okay. So you're going to do 0.75 pounds. Okay? 0.75. That means it's under a pound. Okay? It's like 75 cents. It's just short of a dollar. So you want to cut till you get to 0.75. You might be slightly under. You might be at 0.71, and the customer says, "I'll take it." Okay. Thank you so much for the compliment. You might be at 0.77, and the customer says, "I'll take it." You want them to. You want them to. You got to be really, really good to cut that bad baby on the money. I've only hit it a couple times and got it on the money, and people, I mean, they're like almost bowing down to you going, look at that. Oh my gosh, it's exactly 1.0 what I ordered. Man, it was only pure accident. I just guessed, okay? So, and you never know. Different meats cook different ways. If you have a Black Forest ham, a smoked type ham, mesquite ham, a honey ham. They're all different weights. It's hard to know exactly how many darn slices it's going to do to get to that 1/4 pound or a pound. Most of the time they order a pound and under. Oh my gosh, a pound and under to drive you nuts. I want 1/3 pound, that's 0.30. Oh my gosh, really? Okay, now, so, that's how you deal with a customer. You're wearing rubber gloves. You have to wash your hands to your elbows in hot water with the proper soap that you have there in that restaurant or deli. And you wash them up to your elbows and try to make it at least a minute. Okay? Because it's like a disinfectant. Then you rinse them off with hot water. Cold water does nothing. Okay, got me? Cold water does absolutely nothing. Hot kills germs. Did you know hot kills corona? Did you know that's why you could be outside and probably not get corona? Did you know that's why you can lay a face mask out in the sun and in 2.5 hours it's now sterilized? Well then, sunshine does a lot of things. Okay, heat is the factor. So, as soon as you get your arms from the elbows down sterilized from washing them, then you now have to dry your hands with throw away paper towels. And it takes a minute because your skin is wet. Because you really need them as dry as you can pretty much get them, because your next problem is trying to put on those gloves because they don't allow powder lined rubber gloves. Just like you see at the doctor's office with the nurse puts on. Those little throwaway gloves in the Kleenex box. That's right. Now you can have all the sizes you want, from extra small to extra large, but I'm telling you, they don't come with the baby powder inside in food and beverage. It doesn't happen. Sorry. So they don't have that cool electroglide thing going on to your hands. No, sir. It is like putting a wet balloon over a telephone pole. You know what I mean? It doesn't work out well, because those gloves are grabbing your skin and you're trying to pull them on, and it's like a comedy act, you know, because your skin is damp, or if it's just plain wet. It doesn't work well trying to put those gloves on if your hands are soaking wet. It's just not happening, because you're going to have like 1 inch fingers of gloves hanging off your fingers because you can't get them on. Okay? So dry your hands with a throwaway towel that they furnish, paper towel, whatever, at your work, and you throw it away after each use. You don't reuse that sucker. Get those gloves on. Everything you do must be done with gloves. Next, here is the elderly gentleman that comes and says, "Hi, I want 1 pound of ham. I want Black Forest. I want 3 pounds of honey roasted turkey. I want some white American cheese in 1 pound." And it's like you're just looking at him like, if you would like to write these items down on a piece of paper, then you need to take your gloves off. Then you need to try to locate a pen and paper. But guess what? You can't lay that pen and paper anywhere. You better hope you can suspend it in midair, because you're going to put germs on your counters. You will now have to go back and re-sterilize your arms from the elbows down and play the how to get my gloves on in a hurry, because the customer's looking at me like I'm an idiot, because it's taking me longer just to get the gloves on than it did to wash my body parts. Okay? So, yeah. So, rule one, you're going to have to tell them in a nice fashion, I'm sorry, let's do one at a time, because if I have to write these things down, then I've got to take my gloves off and rewash my hands, and then they kind of get it. If they lay their list, I'll just lay this here. I'm gonna go get a couple things. Try not to lose them. It's sort of like catching a fish. You don't want it to jump the line and take off and steal your bait, because you don't know if that joker's coming back. I had a lady do that to me one time, and she freaking didn't come back for an hour and a half and act like she was all innocent. Do you have my meat? You know what? Yeah, I cut her darn meat. I fell for that, and turned around and I sold it. The third customer down asked for exactly those items, because that lady didn't come right back. Okay, she was like, "I'm going to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back." All of a sudden, and I'm like, sort of like ordering a cocktail in a bar, and they go, "I got to go out to my car and get the money." You don't know if they're coming back. Try to keep them there, just like you caught a fish. Try to keep it right there on the line. If they're going to walk away, tell them, "Well, let me know when you get back, because I've got to take this next customer." And if they get mad or sassy, try like hell to convince them to stay. Okay? Because otherwise, you can't trust them. And these meats and cheeses are expensive. Once they're cut, they have to get sold. Okay? If the joker is talking crap or gets a call that they got a massive emergency and they all of a sudden split, leave their grocery cart at the store, never come back, have a heart attack in the aisle, who knows? you know, um, their kid fell and they got to call ambulance now. Who knows? Try to keep them at the counter and do that order and try to keep them from leaving you hanging. Because one, it ties up your other customers. Okay? Because it takes time to slice this stuff up. You got to find the meat or cheese to begin with. That's another problem. They're looking at one side of the deli case with all these pretty packages and prices, and depending on how big the deli is, and how many varieties, name brands, type, styles of meats and cheeses they have to offer. Okay, especially the cases over 6 foot long, you got problems. Because they always think that you're going to pull that big hunk of meat out and slice them some meat off of that. That real nicely wrapped one with all the cool pictures on it. You know, that shiny, tight package over that big chunk of meat. No, we don't open every single package in there. It's only for display. Yeah, there's meat in there, but we're not opening that unless it's a dire emergency. Because we have them in behind that big display in the cooler on little shelves, all mixed up with labels we have to try to read in the cooler, whether it's lit or not. It's hard to see. Okay, because you got to stand up and read that junk, bending over like you're in a beer cooler behind a bar. All right, and the labels are just like labels on a steak. So you want to try reading that while standing up, slightly bent over, inside a box that's kind of dark, and go through 35 types of meat. And you can say, well, ham is usually pink. Oh, no, it's not. Because sometimes the turkey's pink. Okay. Well, it's white. So, I mean, it's turkey. Well, so is chicken. Some of them have different coatings. Some of them look similar. Like, your Cajuns, or your roasteds. They put stuff on the outside of the meat chunk, and they kind of look alike from the outside. People don't put them back where they go. You know, we're looking for giant Ziploc bags, like 2-3 gallon Ziploc bags with a little meat label on it, like you'd have on a steak. And that's what we're digging through behind that beautiful, charming display of package wrapped meats. But they always go, well, it's right here. Yeah, well, if the jamoke that you're working with doesn't care, they may throw it down that cooler, okay? 15 foot down that darn cooler somewhere else where it does not belong. So you have to look through all these pieces of meat to figure out what that is. You have to read the labels. You cannot tell what it is. The only thing you can kind of tell what it is black forest ham, because it's just black on the outside. That's your first clue. The only problem is, what's similar to black forest ham is pastrami, because it's real dark and slimy, okay? It has this stuff they put on the outside, just like roast beef. It has this gooey good. It's almost like gravy they painted on there. It's just a little bit of a different shape. It's kind of a tall, thin volcano, like 3 inches wide, on your pastrami or your roast beefs. And then everything else is kind of round, like bigger than a baseball, smaller than a volleyball. Okay? So you can't tell. You can't tell. You have to read those labels. And you look like an idiot when you got to go through all these different chunks of meat. Just start calling that crap out. If they ask you for honey roasted turkey by Sara Lee or something, just call out every turkey you find. Go, okay, I've got, Virginia turkey. I've got, Cajun turkey. I've got, buffalo turkey. I've got, and a lot of times they'll just take what you call out because they're in a hurry. They don't have time to play. And And it's just really funny because they think they know it all. They're like, it's right here. It's right here. I'm not grabbing that hunk of meat you're seeing in the glass, man. I'm looking through a bunch of Ziploc bags because I've literally said, oh my gosh, show me where that is. And run all the way around the counter, and they'll stand there and be real nasty to you. And I'll say, show me. And they'll say, it's right here. You see it? And they'll talk to you like you're really totally stupid, right? I'm totally stupid. I have 5 college degrees of stupid. Okay? I do not like when people will talk to me like I am stupid. I'm just trying to do a service there. I'm trying to get you taken care of. I'm trying to get your order. Be nice. Don't be a poo-poo head. That's my thoughts. Now, I would not tell a customer that, but please, if you're in the store, be nice to that butcher. Uh, Hopefully you'll get nice back. And if they're not nice, report them. Go to a member of management immediately in front of that store and report them. They better have name tags. If they don't, drag that manager back, just like you're carrying a pull toy and say, there they are, that's the person. Because they should not be talking to you in that fashion because you're making your paycheck. Okay? They should be grateful. I am always grateful. I say it a million times a day to customers. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Do you? That's really nice of you to say. I said, yes. Well, you know what? I appreciate you making my paycheck today. Everything you purchase here, you're making my paycheck. Thank you so much. And people will come back, But yeah, so, I run around the counter and I tell that lady, she's like, it's right here. I said, no, it's not. Because I'll show you what I'm looking at. And I'll go back around the counter and I'll slide that cooler door open and I'll reach down and grab this giant Ziploc bag with a hunk of meat in it and pull it up and show it to them. I said, that's what I'm looking for. It doesn't look like what you're seeing, and it's no guarantee it's going to be right there either because I work with other people. And if they're in a hurry, they may just throw it anywhere. It might get thrown around. All that meat gets tossed around, and ham's going to be one place, and it's going to be another place or 3 places. And if you have a lot of different cutters, everybody's moving and grooving if it's really slammed. We're doing just the best job that we can. Sometimes the meat is used up and nobody replaces it, which you should be doing that. And I don't care if you had a customer and you ran out and wanted 2 pounds and you only got 1 1/4, you had to go pull another piece, and you have to make a shelf ticket, get a fresh bag. You can't put it in that old bag. And you have to enter expiration of 6 to 7 days on a hunk of meat. Your salamis, pepperonis, your cheeses have a little bit longer expiration date, rollover time. It could be 12 to 20 days. And that's preference of the store of how long they wish to keep that item. And then they will donate 1 or 2 days before that expiration. So that, they can tax right off that at full price. Full price. Okay? It's no loss to them. They're making out like bacon. Okay? So, you may not even have that meat, and you got to get another piece. So you have to, pull one of those real pretty chunks. It's all wrapped in that pretty plastic wrapper. But otherwise, if you finished it out exactly, you went, whoa, I wonder if this sucker will make exactly a pound like they want without me having to open another one. And if you're in a hurry, you don't have time to open another one. You're waiting on the next customer. Take that money. If it's coming, you don't know what tomorrow brings. You don't know what kind of business you got tomorrow. Take it while it's high. Got a customer standing there, wants to make an order, that's money in your pocket. Take it while it's hot, because tomorrow might be dead. You won't have hardly any customers. So get it done quick. Okay? But, you may not pull another of that same meat because you're busy with the next customer. So sometimes you're looking and looking and looking through 35 pieces of meat and it doesn't exist. The best one was, this is how I got screwballed up. This lady says, I want such and such name brand of turkey or ham or something, right? I am looking up and down that cooler, grabbing these baggies like you're picking up a sack of money, right? Pulling it up, trying to see that label, you know, going back and forth, and I'm hitting, Cajun turkey, I'm hitting ham, I'm hitting, chicken, I'm going, all these bags. I'm like going, it'd be nice if the stuff was like in colors, they had huge labels, everything went back to where it goes to, you know, I'm going bags. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking, the only other option is, um, I'm just going to pull one from the front, the case. Now, these cases, they lift up on the other side. So you literally have to walk around the counter and the glass cantilevers up like, the bonnet on your car or a lift back. It has air shocks to keep it from falling and breaking this big, heavy glass. You have to ask the customers to please step back because you don't want to hurt them and you don't want them that close to that case. And you don't want their hands or their faces to touch that glass because it's another thing you got to sterilize. Okay? Um, so you ask them nicely, maybe your grocery cart, please step back just a moment. I've got to open this case because the whole glass lifts up and it's big. It's really big. Okay? It's like half the size of a door in your house. And so, first of all, you get them pointed out. And I tell the lady, I said, show me which one it is. And she's like looking at the case. And I said, show me which one it is. We'll pull it because I don't have any back there. She's looking and looking. She says, well, and then she says the thing again, the name, brand, the style of meat she wants. And she can't show me. You know why? You're going to love this. The reason she can't show me is not because we were out of the stock and it wasn't brought in by truck yet, because we get a shipment generally every 3 days, which is a lot. That's a lot. It's usually like once a week. Grocery stores will get shipments once a week. This particular deli gets it like 3 times a week. It's a brand you don't carry. You are exactly, all right, exactly right. Guess how amazing that was. Like I wanted to wipe sweat off my forehead, but you can't touch your body parts. You've got gloves on. Once you do that, you've got to go back to the drawing board and take the gloves off. They go in the trash and you got to wash again. Yes, that's absolutely correct. It wasn't a brand that we carried, but she stood there and ordered me with full confidence, as if she was looking at that case and saw that brand and wanted me to cut it. By gosh, and I don't know the inventory. Okay? Because there's so many. There's so many. It's a huge, huge deli. Okay? So, was I looking stupid? Nope. Nope. But I was polite and nice and kind of made a joke of it in the end so she didn't feel bad. Why would I do that? Because I want her to come back to pay my paycheck. Because she's now feeling really stupid because she's ordering something we don't have. That's like going to Taco Bell and saying, hey man, I want a pepperoni pizza. Okay? Wouldn't you feel a little bit stupid if they said, I'm sorry, we don't sell pepperoni pizzas? We only sell like burritos and tacos and things. Mexican, Latino food, Okay. So, made her feel comfortable, made her laugh. She'll be back. Honest mistake. Some people assume all delis are the same. They're no more the same than human beings that are come in a variety of spices and colors. If you cut us, we all bleed the same, though. That's correct. But variety is the spice of life. And if we all looked alike and all thought alike, it would be pretty boring if you're talking to yourself all day long. That's why there's variety in life. Different types of education, people that grow up in different places. There's variety, okay? just like in grocery stores and restaurants. It's who could have the best restaurant, who could have the best grocery store. They're all going to be a little bit different. Every owner has a different philosophy. Okay? Um, I'll never forget way back when my daddy, I had gone, from California to Oklahoma. Oh boy. No waves, no surfing, no seafood. Oh my gosh. I had a brand new baby. They didn't have anything in that town. You could walk to everything, didn't even need a car. Okay? And like, they had this store. They had a grocery store, but when you walked in the door, it about blow you down because it smelled like a chicken pen. Why? Because at the front door, they have gigantic bags of horse feed, cow feed, pig feed, all this stuff. Ugh, and it smells like a barn, okay? And then I've got to go in that place to get past the doors to go in there to grocery shop. Really? Ah, man. Woo. Terrible, terrible, terrible. It is foul. And then they have one bank, one courthouse, one hamburger joint. And that's when I learned that Sonic was not a cocktail lounge. It's actually a hamburger joint that people hang out at, and that's where it goes Friday night. Wow, we. Uh, and they have one store called Walmart with one L. It's not Kmart. No, sir. Kmart, California, Kmart's everywhere. Kmart has all this plastic furniture and it comes in orange, yellow, and avocado green. And if you're lucky, maybe you can find white. That's why we used to furnish our apartments when we get them. Couldn't afford damn furniture, so you go to Kmart, you buy a lawn chair, buy some of those plastic tables, get some, 4 for 99 cent pot holders so you can run the oven, buy one pot or pan, everything gets cooked there, buy one towel, everything's in ones. You sleep on the floor for about 6 months till you can afford to buy a bed. It takes you a year to get a couch. It's all right. Lawn chair is okay. Why don't you get a TV and plug it into the wall? You can order Pizza Man, he delivers. Have a bottle of booze right there, and watch some TV and sit on a lawn chair in your own house, and nobody can say a thing. Okay, because you're proud because you are now a renter. You have your very own place. It's just gonna take a little time to get the other parts. At least they usually come with curtains. Okay. And you have piles of clothes in boxes, You don't even own a fork, knife, or a spoon, you know what I mean? Styrofoam goes a long way. You're washing out cups from restaurants so you can reuse them. You know what I mean? So there's a store. It's not Kmart, it's the strangest thing. Some Parker is spelling Walmart with one L. I can't even relate to that. Wall is spelled Wall, right? Long story behind that. It's a southern thing. It's a gentleman by the name of Sam Walton with one L. Walton. Okay? Probably one of the most brilliant businessmen on the face of this earth. Bottom line. I told my daddy about this funny Kmart store called Walmart with one L, but they didn't have all that funny color plastic furniture and stuff. They had these racks, and they had red, white, and blue sign above every rack in the store and every shelf that said "Made in the USA." I said, "Wow, that's pretty wild, And it gives you pride, right? Like I said, no, so boar's head brandy, right? Is that how it came to be, Walmart? Yes. Yes, I was surprised to see a Walmart in the state of California many, many years later because nobody knew what I was talking about. They thought I lost my marbles or was drunk. I quit drinking when I left back home. I had a child to raise. Party was over, Jack. I had somebody to be responsible for, Sometimes you got to grow up in this world. Although I was never ever supposed to have children, I did. Okay, and I did have an option where I could have let that child be adopted out, and I decided to be a big girl and take responsibility. And so I did. And it was a beautiful life for a moment, but anyway. And then there were more. But yeah, so I had told my father about it. And what was really interesting was they had come out with this Cabbage Patch doll. And, you know, right before I left California, they had gang wars. They had like people pulling knives in shopping malls and all that, people waiting in big long lines, sort of like they do for iPhones today or Jordan tennis shoes or something. They were doing this for a doll, a really ugly, stupid looking doll, a rubber doll. Okay, it was hokey. It looked gross. It wasn't even cute. And what on earth is a Cabbage Patch doll? Where do you come up with something like that? Why don't you call it the princess doll or something cool? You know what I mean? So, just like Barbie and Ken, who were brothers and sisters, and their parents had those dolls designed after their good-looking kids, you know, and they made millions out of that deal. Okay, and I know that for a fact. My father taught their parents how to sail. Yes, sir. So, you know, I tell they had that doll, and had these big massive fights in a shopping mall. I had a brand new baby. My baby wouldn't know what the heck a damn Cabbage Patch doll is, and it would take years. Okay, and I thought it was ugly anyway. I wouldn't be fighting anybody over that stupid damn doll. They were offering people big money. They were selling some for $1,000 because they waited in line for God knows how many hours from opening and closing of the mall. All these tons of people to get that Cabbage Patch doll. It's so ugly. And they're going for like, $79 in the store. And people were selling them like scalping tickets to a concert. You know what I mean? Several times the price. So I'm in Oklahoma at this Walmart store with one L. They had Cabbage Patch doll. You know how much it was? $35. I got to get up close to see what this thing was. Everybody's going cuckoo over it. And I said, God, that sucker's ugly. Wish I could take it out of the box and see what it's like, because it's not even as good as a Raggedy Ann. Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy, they're king of the doll industry. And the walking dolls that were the size of you when you're a kid. You could hold their hand and walk with you. That's right. Yeah, it is way better than Barbie and Ken. It wasn't as good as a Mattel race car and racetrack, but still. Or an erector set. That's right. So there's this Cabbage Patch doll. I get to look at it through that plastic in that paper box. It's like $35 at Walmart. In place with one L, right? That's right. How does that happen? Because Sam Walton buys in quantity. I didn't know all these things. So he can afford to sell for whatever he'd feel like doing. He goes in warehouses, trailers, whatever. You know how I found that out? My father was very intrigued when I would call home and I'd say, guess what? They have this strange store with one L. It's not Kmart. Maybe it's related to Kmart. I don't know. But it doesn't have all that funny plastic furniture and all those weird colors. And he's like, this is very interesting, you know. So while people are killing each other over these stupid Cabbage Patch dolls, and people that have hundreds of dollars can afford to buy their kid a Cabbage Patch doll from somebody who stood in line for hours for $500 and $1,000 for a really ugly doll, okay, that can't go in the bathtub with you. You don't want to take that sucker to the beach. And they sell all these weird accessories like strollers and all kinds of goofy crap. Okay? I'm not impressed that people will pay big money for the garbage. So while they're all killing each other in California over that, I'm halfway across the states and they're selling them for like $35. If they had internet, And like eBay, I would have been a millionaire. I'm serious. And postage was so cheap then, I could have made out like bacon. I would have been just as rich as Sam Walton. That's right. But my dad got a hold of Sam Walton because he enjoyed my story of something he'd never seen. And I'd tell him more and more about that interesting store. And it was the only store in the town. Okay? There wasn't anything else but like a couple pawn shops and mom and pop restaurant where they cooked food fresh. There was hardly anything there. You had to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, an hour and a half away to go to the big city, you know what I mean? Like where I came from, where they have concrete sidewalks so you can wear heels and shorts. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where you don't have to shovel the snow out in front of your door or try to locate your car and numerous snow moguls around your house. Try to figure out which one might be yours, and you don't want to make anybody mad because you got to look and see if you can find your red Camaro by poking holes and looking in. A big snowball thing that's like a mountain around your house. Yeah. So my dad flew from California. He called. He made arrangements to meet Mr. Sam Walton. That's correct. He was a great deal older than my daddy. And he met him. He flew from California and had a meeting with this man and to ask him about his business and why he did it and how he was doing it. Because he wanted to learn. Now, my daddy was not in the grocery business. My parents were not in any kind of business like that. They weren't even in any piece retail business. They weren't in bar and restaurant business either. They taught sailing, celestial navigation, coastal piloting. They taught people that sailed around the world, in 180 days. They taught people that competed, racing sailboats, Olympic sailing, all kinds of stuff. It had nothing to do with Walmart with one L. So, my dad was very intrigued by this gentleman and his business process. And he really had a great time. My daddy grew up in Oklahoma. But you never know he was Southern because he doesn't talk with any accent. It's proper English, very well educated, Naval Academy man. That's right. My mother's not Southern either. She's Danish. All Danish family. Yep. So, my dad was very intrigued by this gentleman's thought processes, his business, his ideas, his future ideas, from car lots to pharmacies to beat everybody's prices, why and how he could do it. Going into a lumber yard, selling, new cars or used cars. There's a lot of dreams that Sam Walton had, and some that were kind of done, and then some that were terminated after his death. So it was very interesting. My dad flew all the way from California, stopped his business, stopped his life to go meet this gentleman and find out his thought processes. It's sort of like having a day with Elon Musk. Wouldn't you like to do that? Just once. Just sit there and listen to this man talk and see if it makes sense to you. Try to understand his reasoning, where he's coming from, what his educational background is. Did he never go to school? Did he work selling hot dogs and lemonade at a little stand? Never got educated, but he's making billions selling Teslas? Who knows? Who'd have thought? There are people like that. There's people that can't even write English that have a successful business because they followed their dream. Okay? So, it's very intriguing. Very intriguing. Anyway, let's get back to the subject. Hope you enjoyed that story. Because it's true. Uh, yeah. So if you ever get a chance to meet somebody iconic in your time, do so. And I wish I'd have bought stock in that company years ago because it's worth a ton now. Ugh. Yep. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so going back to the deli process. So we went over slicers, cutting meat, how to make that customer happy, how not to be pulling meat off of an order that you went a little over on, and having to try to do something with it. Okay? And try not to waste. You sure don't stick it back in a baggie with a big chunk of meat. That's nasty and it's tacky. You really got to try to make the customer take it, because we're not all pros. I mean, we're talking probably a 30-year butcher that could be that good. He could really know exactly those cuts of meats from everyday cutting and the different weights and the thicknesses and all that kind of stuff. Because they are different, you know. You get a lot of people to go, I want half a pound of ham. And you say, okay, that's about 3 slices. And they get mad. And they're like, why would you say that? It's like, well, because it is. It's like trees. Some trees are lighter than the others. You got mimosa, then you got a palm tree, or cedar tree. And then you got pecan that you can't hardly make anything on it because it's brittle and it breaks when you try to process it to make a table or something out of it. Pecan's the worst to deal with. But then you got your other hardwoods and stuff that, you can bang on them, drive over them with a car, all kinds of stuff, and they're tough. They're just tough. Meat is like that. It's dense. Different meats are dense. Different meats are lighter, especially after cooking. Ham is the worst. Ham is just really hard to cut because it's just really dense. And it doesn't like to be cut thin. It doesn't want to be shaved. It doesn't want to be little tiny thin cuts. The thicker you can cook that joker, the easier it's going to roll. Promise you. And customers don't get it. I just think you're just going to pull a miracle out of the sky, a rabbit out of a hat. It's not like that. If I could say, come back here and I'll show you. Here, you push this slicer. I wish I could, but they got to be all sterilized. They got to have a hairnet. They got to have an apron. I can't exactly drag them behind the counter and show them so they understand and they stop being so darn mean. You don't know unless you're doing the job, okay? You don't know what it feels like when you got to shave 3 pounds of damn ham or chicken or turkey, which you're just grinding it up. It doesn't resemble a slice at all. It will kill your shoulder. It is so hard to run that slicer like that on that ultra fine grind because it's slicing back and forth horizontally across, like over a table, back and forth, okay? And you are powering it with your shoulder and your arm. It's not automatic. If it was automatic, like some slicers I've seen, where you just program in the thickness of the slice and how many pounds, it does it all by itself. You turn around and just whacks away. Most people have slicers that cost $3,000, $4,000, $6,000 each, and it's human operated. You see their arm going back and forth. It hurts. It hurts. Please don't make me do shaved meat. Please, I'm begging you. First day I ever tried that, I thought I was going to die. The next day, I come in and I told the boss that I'm not doing any meat today. I'm done. They're like, why? And I said, because it's grotesque, painful, and I am in really bad pain. My body really hurts. Or the first person asks me for shaved, I'm just going to deny them. I'm going to tell them you're going to have to wait till another cutter comes. I'm sorry, can't do it. And I'll tell them why. When they say, why not? Well, because it's grotesquely painful to shave the meat. They don't understand. They think it ain't nothing. It ain't nothing. Shave me 3 pounds of ham. Oh, mother of God. So, the meat slicing thing can be problematic if you do it right. Kind of play stupid, be kind, be funny, whatever. You can kind of get that customer to work with you. Do not let them lay their list of crap on your counter, because now you're going to have to go sterilize it. You cannot touch that paper and be reading on it or anything, because you got to be sterile. If you touch that paper, pick it up off that counter to read that, you got to go wash your hands from the elbows down again. It takes a little while. You can't just do it in 10 seconds. You have to do it the legal way, the Board of Health way. And then try to get this stuff dry and try to pull these gloves on or work those wet skin and do it all over again, because you touched that piece of paper because the customer has no gloves on. And they had it in their back pocket, down the bra. Who knows? Their kid was chewing on it. The dog licked it from the car. Who knows? And when it's hit that counter, the counter's no longer sterile. Don't lay anything on there. Don't touch that counter. Unless you after the customer leaves, you spray it, and wipe it. Keep it clean. Because they'll do it. They'll do it. It's got to be sterile clean. All times. Okay? And so, you have sinks in a restaurant, and in a deli, and in the produce department. They should have 3 sinks. Big giant sinks. Like, the sinks like you would wash car parts in. 3. Okay? They're usually stainless steel. They need to be clean. Like, really clean. They're filled with special chemicals, whether it be a restaurant, a bar, whatever. The first one's a soap chemical that's approved by Board of Health. The next one will be a rinse. The last sink is a sterilizer sanitizer. Rinse. It's a chemical. That's right. Been like that for years, long before Corona. Why is that? Because it doesn't spread germs. That's why they have it in the bars. Those sinks behind that bar, they better be hot. They better have those chemicals in them. Board of Health will slam you if you don't. Okay? Why is that? Because they don't want to hand you a plastic cup because that is tacky. You want to drink out of a crystal glass? It's got to go through those steps. Because if somebody comes in there with the flu, a cold, Corona, who knows, something that's contagious, and they drink out of a glass, it is not cleaned properly and sanitized, the next person that drinks out of that glass will get ill. So now you're spreading illness, disease, whatever. Those things are enforced and set in place to keep a restaurant or food and beverage place clean and not spread illness. Okay? Just like those slicers that got to be clean, because someone can get listeria and die. Who's there? Paranormal Gaming, what's up, buddy? What did your parents think of Walmart? My father was very impressed when he met Sam Walton. He did make a trip later, and we both went into the Walmart that was by my house, and he was very impressed. And let me tell you how they were at Walmart. When you go into that Walmart, okay, I didn't know where everything's at because we didn't have Walmarts in California. There's no such thing, okay? And it really didn't make any sense to me. Walmart with one L. What a dumb name. The only thing is it was named after Mr. Sam Walton, and his name is spelled with one L. Sorry. It's just different. You just can't relate. You know what I mean? So, anyway, when I went in there, I needed 3 things. Toothpaste. I'll never forget this. Toothpaste, masking tape, and something else. And the lady walked right up to me, and she says, and they had somebody at the door that goes, hello, good morning, Okay, other than fact, it was a 24-hour store, which was so rad. It's the Krispy Kreme with the K's. uh, and uh, this this I thought that was really weird. I thought that was a stranger. It's just like just talking to you when you come in the door. That's so weird. Um, and you have to get used to it because it's a thing. It's just a thing. That they do. It's a really common thing, and other businesses have begun to adopt that through the years. Um, it's Southern hospitality. It's a Sam Walton thing. He was like that himself. You wouldn't know who he was if he walked up to you and you worked at a Walmart because he was just some old dude, drove old raggy step-side truck and wore Farmer John jeans. He didn't tell you, I'm Sam Walton, I own this place. He was just some cool older gentleman, and he'd walk up and smile to you. He'd see your name tag, call you by name, and he'd say, "You having a good day today?" And he'd say, "Well, that's really really nice, you know." And are you having a nice day at your work today? And the employee would say something, say, "That's really nice," and he'd say, "Well, you have a very fine day," and he'd move on. You would never know who he was. Unless somebody ran up and said, oh my God, that was Sam Walton." And I know a story about that from years back. Yeah, a girl that I used to know from Vegas, and she was working in Bentonville, the Bentonville Walmart store, the home of Walmart. That's right. But anyway, so, uh, uh, every place is different, but the Board of Health rules are basically the same. So the sinks must be hot. You have 3 sinks: the wash, the rinse, and the last one, which is the sanitizer. You don't rinse that off. That stuff's all got to soak in there for a certain amount of time. It's pulled out, it air dries, it's moved to shelves with gloves on, it's removed from shelves with gloves on to where it needs to go. It's really precise. Okay. They have little sinks, little tiny sinks with a foot, uh, a little foot operator. You don't turn knobs or anything with your hands. There's a little foot thing you push, makes the hot water run. They have soap. It might be in a dispenser on the wall, might be sitting on the sink. But these are little tiny sinks. They're like 1 foot by 1 foot. Nothing goes in that sink. You pour nothing down that sink. Those sinks are only meant, you could have 1, you could have 6 in a department. Those are only meant to wash your elbows to your hands. Nothing else. You don't get water there. Nothing. You don't pour nothing down there, down the drain. It's only to wash you hands with the germ soap. Okay? There'll be gloves on the wall above that sink. Hopefully they have lots of different sizes for you instead of just one. The gloves don't have baby powder in them. They're rubber. So dry your hands good. There should be towels of some sort. They're not one you reuse with everybody else. These are throwaway paper towels. Okay? Throwaway paper towels. Okay? But never pour nothing down those sinks. Nothing. Ever. No juice from anything, no grease, nothing. Not your rest of your soda pop, not nothing. And by the way, you can't have food and beverages in the deli, and you can't hide it in the cupboards, you can't hide it on the shelves, and you can't hide it in the coolers. It's against Board of Health regulation. If they walk in there and see, a bag of stuff or half a drink sitting around, it's against Board of Health. That's true. Same thing if you're working back house of a dinner house. You just can't have stuff on shelves and stuff. It has to be a special place that's dedicated to put people's drink cups. Okay? Yeah, that's fact. because they cannot just sit in a cooler or refrigerator or whatever. That stuff's supposed to be somewhere else. If you have a break room at your work, whatever, that stuff needs to go in there. Um, because you get written up in Board of Health immediately if stuff is laying around. Um, I have to tell you the razor blade and the steak grill story from Golden Corral years ago. I need to do that vlog. You'll find that darn interesting. The crazy things that happen in restaurants. Okay, the floors kind of look like something in the Navy. They're usually painted with a coating. They have drains in them, like a beach shower drain. It'll be a metal disc mounted in the floor. That means that water can go down there. You don't want to pour some grease down that drain in the floors because it's thousands of dollars to have them unclogged at. Grease doesn't go down the drains. Don't ever think that's a good idea to pour leftovers of a soup or whatever else down those drains, or rotisserie grease, any of that. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's thousands of dollars to clear it up, and it will plug up the rest of the grocery store or restaurant, whatever. It will. So don't ever do that. I saw somebody do that once, and I was like, Mother God. No, 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 no. Please don't. And then cameras everywhere, so watch what you're doing. That's a big thing today. Is cameras are everywhere. They're watching. It's like, go on down, sell tickets. I don't care. Watch me. I'm good. I'm doing the right things here. So, the floors, you need to wear restaurant style shoes, a non-skid shoe. And that doesn't mean topside or deck shoes you wear on a boat. These are shoes specifically designed with a certain kind of rubber that grabs. It's different than your tennis shoes. And it has a tread to it that will do okay through wet surfaces and some greasy surfaces. They're restaurant style shoes. You're talking like about $39 and up. Some places, when I worked at Panda, they had a discount deal where you could order on their website and get really super expensive restaurant grade shoes, like less than half price. And they even made cowboy boot restaurant shoes. Yeah, because one of my coworkers was like, I want the cowboy boots ones. And I'm like, I can't see how you could be so excited to have cowboy boots when all you do is cook in a kitchen. Really? I guess whatever floats your boat, right? Everybody has their own taste. Sometimes it's only in their mouth, but we won't tell them that. So you got restaurant style shoes. That's going to be serious mandatory. I don't care if you work in Taco Bell, you work in a candy store, you work in a back house in a dinner house, front house in a dinner house, you work in a deli, in food and beverage. If you work in Taco Bell, Golden Corral, Hooters, they will usually tell you to wear restaurant styled shoes. And they're just ugly black shoes. They come in black, black, and black. All three colors. Black, black, and black. Just like the first Ford cars. Variety of colors, rainbow of colors, black, black, and black. So it's really important to wear restaurant style shoes. Don't think you can take out your boss, buy something that kind of looks like it, whatever else. They are not safe to wear anything but restaurant style shoes. You will thank the grace of God for them. They really work well. Any kind of food place where restaurant style shoes. Yeah. Make sure you own a pair. They're expensive. Now, I will tell you one thing, and I hate to say this, but it's fact. When my daughter worked a candy store, and she worked a Mexican restaurant, and she worked a Subway for about a minute, those people, they were horrible. They were just so horrible. They required restaurant shoes. I knew what restaurant shoes were. They're just really ugly shoes, and it's something that, like, You know, McDonald's and Taco Bell will tell you, gotta wear restaurant style shoes. You know, really ugly black shoes. Girls' shoes look like guys' shoes. Guys' shoes look like girls' shoes. It's all the same. And there is a major difference in the shoes. If you buy the Walmart brand, that place with one L, they're terrible. Even the most expensive ones they have. Why are they terrible? They last about, 30 to 60 days. I was buying them constantly for my daughter. You really don't want to wear those shoes outside of work. You need to have a change of shoes so that you can, take those off immediately because the soles are not designed to be walking, on the street, the sidewalk, whatever. They're really designed for, food and beverage. Um, Florida, everything melts. Your car tires melt, the soles of your shoes melt, and if you're gonna wear your restaurant shoes outside, they're really gonna melt. But yeah, so restaurant style shoes. Now, if you can get to a shopping mall or somewhere else other than Walmart or order some online, there are some really good name brands, and they're about $10, $20 higher to purchase, and some are as many as $50 higher, and they're well worth it, and they will last for 6 months to a year of everyday use versus the Walmart non-skid restaurant style shoes. So that's really important. You don't want to wear long sleeves in a deli, even though they have coolers, just like produce does, that kind of thing. Deli do not want to wear long sleeves because you need to wash your hands from your elbows all the way down to your fingertips. And you don't need to be reaching around to pull up sleeves all day long because you can't. You'd have to take your gloves off and rewash your hands again every single time. If you touch your body, touch your hat, touch your apron, any of that, you're supposed to really go take the gloves off and clean up again. So you have to be careful what you touch. Don't lay your hands on the counter, hold them up when you're talking to people. You know, don't run around and hug somebody and touch their clothes or their hair with those gloves. You got to take them off, rewash your hands. Okay, rotisserie. If you have a function like a rotisserie, which is a giant oven with a bunch of trays, and they put meat in there of some sort, whether it be chickens or a hunk of meat for some reason, whatever. Um, Rotisseries are hot grease. They drain hot grease off, especially chicken. They look really neat, but they're super hot. There's so much grease comes out of a chicken, tons of it. Um, and uh, it was, what did Pat Robertson tell me about chickens? He said they never sweat or something like that. He's like, did you know? Or I think he said they never pee. They pee through their skin. That's what Pat told me. And I was like, come on. And he's like, nope. He's like, chickens never pee. They pee through their skin. And it's like, ew. He thought they were very dirty, dirty animals. Although we cooked quite a bit of chicken, you know, at Sonic. um, so they shed so much grease. And when you are loading, I don't like rotisseries with a whole bunch of chickens in them. It makes me nervous. I would hate to be a store owner with that in there because I would be afraid to catch on fire and it would just never go out because that's a ton of grease because it's dripping off. As you see the rotisserie go around with all those chickens in there, it drips off. When you load a rotisserie, it has to be loaded evenly, or when you open the door, all those racks will jump off into the floor. So if you're going to load the rotisserie, make sure you have like one chicken on every rack, or you have two chickens on every rack, or three chickens on every single rack. or you'll open the door and they all fall off into the floor. It jumps out like something out of a storybook. They're very, very, very hot. It is very, very easy to get burned. It's very hard to remove the chickens successfully and not get burns from your fingertips to your elbows. Okay? They automatically rotate. You push a button and you can rotate the shells around in there of your chickens to access them. You don't like have to pull them out from all ends of the thing through the door, but you can rotate the shells a little bit. But still, you got to be really careful, like you're playing pickup sticks. Same idea, just a different deal. So be really careful about pulling those chickens out. They are really, really hot. They go in boxes or bags. If they go on bags with zippers in them, zip the bag up. Don't leave them open. I don't care what you think, because you're going to burn yourself. You're going to burn a customer. They'll roll over sideways, leak into customers' car seats, whatever. Zip it up. If you have containers, the containers must be sealed, priced. Don't hold them sideways, and they always leak. You ever buy a chicken from a grocery store and that sucker will always leak in the grocery bag? It's like, you want to double bag it like bleach. Hey, will you double bag it, please? Because they will always leak. They're horrible. Yeah, but imagine the grease of chicken falling to the floor. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen them open the door to a rotisserie to take all the chickens out because they finished, because they're all computerized and it's automated timers and all that. And then 10 racks jump right out the door. Boom. And it's like, whoa. And they thought the thing was broken. No, it's just like any other computerized thing. Computers don't make mistakes, humans do. Computers only know what humans enter into them. Okay? That's a fact. Computers don't make mistakes, humans do. So that's all they know. So the mistake is, know how to load that rotisserie. You cannot change the weights of different shelves and all that. It's all going to be the same. You either run one on each shelf, it's got to be even weight, or it will throw them out, all those racks. And it can't be like two chickens and then three chickens and then two chickens and three chickens. You can't do it like that. It's got to be all equal weight, or it will literally throw its own shelves out. It's just something they do. I don't know why. Maybe it's a safety factor. I don't know. Um, but it's so easy to get burned with those. The next thing, deep fat fryers. If you have a deli, you might have deep fat fryers. They may provide, like, hot lunch kind of thing, hot meal for a greater part of the day, and then they'll close fairly early. They usually don't stay open late. Just like trying to chase a rotisserie chicken down in the grocery store. You ever done that? Man, I think it'd be great to go get a rotisserie chicken. You drive down to the store, you go in there, and they don't have any. Or they go, we just sold the last one an hour ago. And then it takes them hours to cook the next ones, right? And it's like, man, all I wanted was a dumb rotisserie chicken. Yeah. Um, so, if they do a hot meal type thing, say you go in there and they have like 3 selections of meat or fish, and then about, 3 or 4 different kinds of sides, maybe more. Like they'll have French fry, and then they'll have like some corn, and they might have like mashed potatoes and gravy. Just kind of like, when you go to the hospital and eat in their restaurant there, they're like a cafeteria, they call it, or a grade school. They have like all this different little stuff, different kind of rolls. In the South, they like to offer you different rolls. In California, it's different, but in the South, it's like, you want cornbread, you want a dinner roll, because that's what they eat. They eat different kinds of stuff. So if they're cooking food on a hot bar, most of the hot bar food, are you ready for this? It has to be written down right there on the bar, in a book, something, so that you can watch the time on that food. Because guess what? Rotisserie chickens is the same order. First of all, your sides, like your corn, your french fries, or potato wedges, mashed potato gravy, all that stuff is cheese sticks, cheese bites, jalapeno poppers, things like that have 2 hour limit on a hot bar. Then they go in the garbage. That's right. And they have to be weighed and counted. Because if it's not weighed and counted, it looks like your employees are stealing this stuff. And then they have to see what their waste cut factor, just like painting a house. You know, how many gallons did it take? How many pieces of wood did it take? How many nails did it take? Whatever. Okay? Yeah, that's all got to be taken in consideration. And that's how you do a BOM, bill of materials, on a house. Okay? To give somebody an estimate. And it's kind of the same thing in food and beverage. If you let them just throw that crap in the trash without documenting it or weighing it, just like measuring bottles of liquor, same thing, different day, then it looks like your employees are stealing. And you don't want to accuse your employees of stealing, because they might be really great people and you need them. Okay? So, to make sure of that, let's do inventory. We do inventory on food we throw away. That's right. Okay? That way we know how much food we're throwing away a day. Okay? And maybe we need to cook less on certain days. All right? So, your sides are usually going to be timed at 2 hours. All your side types of foods. Your meats, are you ready for this? On a hot bar, 4 hours. Rotisserie chickens, 4 hours. Can't sell it after 4 hours. Board of Health law. Cannot sell it because it is considered bad. Some people like to temperature probe that stuff. And that's all well and good if you don't believe in the coolers and the heat boxes you have and all that, and your sun lamps and all these things. It's all well and good. Bottom line is, you got 2 hours on your sides, 4 hours on your meats, fishes, seafoods. It's already cooked. That's it. Party's over. That's right. Yeah, you can get sick from that too. It's just like leaving chicken out, you know, leaving milk out. Your biggest problems are like your chicken and your pork. Those really make you sick if they're not properly refrigerated and if they're not disposed of in a certain amount of time. 4 hours, 4 hours on your main meats, and 2 hours on your sides. And yeah, not rotating stuff. Yeah, you ever go into some place with a cafeteria style bar in a grocery store, and it's like they don't stir it around? I had a guy tell me this. You know, some of the places have really good macaroni and cheese, and if you can find it in some of these grocery stores, and they charge $1 million for that food. I swear, it's cheaper to go to KFC. Um, but now KFC, they only give you a little container of mashed potatoes and gravy that's like 3 tablespoons and 1 tablespoon of gravy. It's like, really? Uh, it's changed through the years. They get cheaper as we went. Um, so I went in and I told the guy, he was kind of a young guy, and I said, I'd like some macaroni and cheese, please. You know? And he's like, okay. So he reached the scooper in there, and I didn't realize that it was that dry. The macaroni and cheese, it looked really picture perfect, but it wasn't. It was like cooked away on the top because the heat lamps are so hot. They have to keep everything at a certain temperature. Okay? I think it must stay at 149 degrees and nothing less and nothing higher at all times. Otherwise, it's garbage. Got to throw it out. So, yeah, as long as your heat boxes and stuff work pretty good, or you have, temperature gauges that stay on them all the time, you don't have to literally probe the meat, whatever. Yeah, mac and cheese, buddy. Oh my gosh. So the guy sticks the scooper or the spoon, whatever it is that he was using, and he like dishes into there, and it like kind of, it's sort of like homemade chocolate pudding where it has that skin on top, and it's real black looking. But once you stick the spoon in there, my mother used to always make homemade chocolate pudding. We didn't have instant pudding when I was a kid. It was made with Hershey's cocoa and milk and the whole deal, man. And and the macaroni and cheese would be like that. It breaks the top. It looked all picture perfect till he did that. Then underneath, it's all like milky and a lighter color and all that. So it kind of mixes a little bit of it up, like half the tray. And then he proceeds to dish it out. And I'm like, going, I wish I didn't order this food, and I don't want to be rude and say no. But it's kind of creepy looking. And what are his next words? Do you want like the crunchy stuff or without that? Does anybody know what the crunchy stuff is in macaroni and cheese? Because I've never heard of that in my life. Okay? The crunchy stuff? Really? Oh my gosh. And why would that be? Because they've left it in a hot box and let it bake away into those hot lamps. Or if it's heating from underneath with boiling water in the buffet table, whatever, and they haven't stirred it. It's got to be rotated, just like produce or anything else. It's got to be rotated. So if you work in a deli, you really want to burn some time, open the doors at a hot box. Please go stir things around, okay? Go stir things around and make it look nice. All that stuff will cook back into the food, whether it's gravy with the skin on it or the macaroni and cheese is starting to skin up a little bit. Mix it around and it'll redissolve into itself if it's fresh, you know. But remember, your sides are about 2 hours, then they go in the garbage. Your main courses, your meats, your cheeses, your fishes that are cooked, they got 4 hour lifespan in that hot box. Don't ever serve food beyond it. I've seen people do it. I have seen people do it because they're idiots and they don't belong working in food and beverage because they're not paying attention. They just don't care. Okay? Those are the wrong people to work in a deli or anything that is food and beverage. If you don't care, please don't work in it because you end up killing people. Because there's a lot of germs that come from expired foods, dirty slicers, and other weird things, okay? Leaving meat out, that's another good one. Where the butcher leaves the meat out, and it stays there for about an hour or two, and then they just go, oh, what the hey, and they want to throw it back in the cooler. And you pray to God you're the one that sees that so you can go rescue that meat and tag it and then let the manager or owner know immediately because that meat cannot be used. It can't sit out. Whether it's hot or it's cold, it cannot sit out. Cross contamination. That means things like using a knife on cheese and then using it on some chicken after that. And that's whether it's raw or cooked. You can't do it. You can't do it. It's just as deadly as anything else. Cross contamination in a hot box where you have, your buffet style food. Don't think just because the fries are fried and the cheese sticks are fried, and if you have like jalapeno pepper things with cheese on them, and I don't know what else, tacos or something, that you can pick all that up with the tongs and with one pair of tongs. No, it's not happening. You must have separate tongs for every item. That's right. You cannot reach over and like dish out some fries and then turn around with the same tongs and go dish out some cheesesteak. No. No, no, no. Every section should have their own utensil. Okay? And just like with, your meats. You can't go pick up the fried chicken, with the tongs and then use the same tongs to go pick up, taquitos or something. Everybody has their own spoon, ladle, tongs, whatever it takes. I've seen people do that where they put one set of tongs and have 6 sides that are finger foods, and then it's okay. No, it is not okay. No, no, no. Everything has its own utensil to dish it out with, just like if you're at a dinner party or anything else at a fine hotel. It's just that way. Okay? Um, Watch those expirations on those foods. Get them the heck out of there. I don't care. It's 30 seconds later. Don't sell it to a customer. And especially don't pull it out. Put it on a table because you're pulling it out and sell it to a customer as it's cooling down. Because that's even worse. That's even worse. Every second it sits on that table outside of that hot box, the temperature is changing. It is absolutely dangerous and will make somebody very, very, very sick. I'm not kidding. So don't do it. I've got sick from doing that, rushing into like a Walmart, and they just closed their food thing, and I'm like, oh my God, I just got here off of work. Can I buy that chicken before you throw it away? Because Walmart doesn't sell anymore, like used chicken and stuff from the delis. And I guess that's the reason why, because they only have a limited shelf life. So you don't see it anymore. Just like a lot of the cold chickens and stuff like that from the rotisserie, a lot of them won't sell them anymore. If they do a cold chicken, it has to be flash cooled in a really cold cooler for a certain amount of time, and they have to probe it to make sure it managed to get to that temperature, because if it did not pass, it's not safe to resell as a cold item. That's fact. It's a serious business. Very serious business. Do you know that deli sandwiches are supposed to be flash cooled? If you walk into a deli, it has like a whole bunch of sandwiches like made up, where like you can take them to go, sort of like at Starbucks, where they have stuff there. That stuff may be hand prepared at the restaurant or to go place, whatever, in the back house, in their kitchen area. But it has to go in a special cooler to be flash cooled. Okay, and you have only so much time to prepare that sandwich or whatever, because these porks and chickens and things, they go bad. They can't just sit out. It's like, can't like make half the sandwiches and then go wait on 20 customers. You got one person that's making the sandwiches, they stay on it. Boom, boom, boom. And then they've got to be flash cooled so the temperature's dropped really rapidly before it can even be put on display in a cooler. That's right. Flash cooled. You got rotisserie chickens, they cannot be over 4 hours sitting around in a heat box. It has to be before the 4 hours. And then if you would like to resell them, You can flash cool them, price them, and put them in a cooler box. That their expiration is going to be very, very, very short. So, it's like overnight. That's it. They'll be thrown out in the morning. But, your after hours customers that, don't get off in time to come to your hot bar deli, um, they, they'll eat that chicken cold, by God. What about like Subway when they use their knives? Oh, I missed it. It's one thing I hate about YouTube. You can't, like pick up that message again. Type a letter T or something there, and then it'll pop that message up so I can see it. There it is. Okay. What about like Subway? They use their knives on multiple subs. Is that against good safety, or are they supposed to wash their knives between subs? No, that's cross contamination. You cannot do that. You cannot cut a turkey sandwich and then cut a ham sandwich after that. And so it's cross contamination. Can't do it. Something wrong. They have to either have a certain knife that cuts the certain meat, like one knife dedicated to ham, one knife dedicated to turkey, one knife dedicated to red meat, or something like that. Or they have to have some kind of tray or something that has, like a sanitizer or something that they could, wash that blade every time before they begin another meat. Yeah. Cross contamination. Not a good thing at all. Talk to a cuisine chef. That's one of the first things they learn. They will blow a head gasket if you take that knife and carried it to another meat. Or maybe they have multiple knives. I didn't know that. I don't know. My daughter worked a Subway for about a minute, and I wished I could just like turn over here and ask her. Yeah, you can't. Your porks and your chickens and things are very, very dangerous whether raw or cooked. Um, yeah, that's an interesting thought though. You know what I mean? But it's just like you don't want to take a meat cut knife and use it on a meat and then turn around and cut cheese with it. Can't do it. It's cross contamination. And only the fine chefs will know because they went to school for all that. And that comes with your education on handling meats and cheeses and dairy products and how to keep a kitchen clean and how hot the pans have to be to cook successfully in the ovens and what temperatures are very dangerous on certain types of meats and the different processes. So most of us would not know that because we didn't go to culinary school. Um, and most of us wouldn't know that because we weren't back house chefs or food preps. I have done food prep, got paid very well for food prep. Yeah, and it's serious biz. I mean, I'm not going to promise you or lead you on to the fact that every back house dinner house is doing it right. Sometimes you'll see things that'll blow your mind, and you know what you do? You quit. You quit because you want to be nothing part of that. Because people get viciously ill or die from some of the things they're getting done, or from mean, evil workers that are out to get the customer, that have no business being in a dinner house. Okay? You don't need people like that. They can get you in a lot of trouble if you're an owner or you're a manager or a supervisor and all that. You know what I mean? Yeah, you try to report them to the Board of Health, but you have to see it and know it and hopefully document it. You can do it anonymously. You can write a letter, whatever you like to do. But sometimes that's too late because customers are getting poisoned and getting very ill, or dying. And uh, you know, calling Board of Health, can take some time for them to respond, to come show up to a place and investigate it. So, if you see a coworker doing something like that, talk to your supervisor or management. Say, geez, I saw so and so do this. Because maybe they don't know better. Maybe they know better and they don't give a damn. Okay? You know, chain of command, chain of command. That's how you make your complaints. If it doesn't work, get to the owner. Chain of command, chain of command. Um, write a letter to corporate on the internet. You can always find out corporate stuff on the internet. Write a letter to corporate if you can't get a hold of the right person. Tell somebody, because it'll happen again. That's why. So, and you want to be able to eat the food at your work, as well as serve it to your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister. And you would have faith that they're not going to get sick and die from listeria or some other food poisoning or something else. So you have to have faith in the product you sell, whether it's food or it's clothing or it's volleyballs, cars, whatever it is. Have faith in the product that you're selling. If the house you work under is selling crap and there's dirty people in it in the back house, running in that kitchen, if there's dirty people that are delivering food to tables, whatever, do report it to management. That doesn't work, go above them. If that doesn't work, find the owner. I don't care how you do it. If the owner never works there, or they're an elderly person that's like hanging out at the house retired, however you got to find them, by God, find them and tell them. If you have to handwrite a letter, put a letter on the internet, call phone numbers, whatever you got to do to locate the right people. And if all else fails, quit. You don't want to work for a place like that. Okay? You cannot take pride in the product you're selling. Okay? If you cannot take pride in the product you're selling, whatever that tangible good is, whether it's a hotel room or it's a sandwich or it's some pants and a shirt, if you can't take pride in that product you're selling, don't work there, because you're not honest with yourself, and you can't be honest with the customer. You're lying to them. You're being the bad car dealer that tells lies all day long. You don't want to be that. You got to believe in what you're selling. It's like people that did commercials back in the old days. They would go, oh yeah, that girl that did that really cool chrome Conair hair blow dryer commercial with that long blonde hair, and then if you ask her, she goes, I don't ever use blow dryer on my hair. You crazy? They just paid me to do the commercial. The guy that did Aqua Velva, ooh, Aqua Velva baby, it's so smooth. And you ask the guy, so I bet you have cases of Aqua Velva at your house. He's like, hell no. This stuff smells like, gank. I would never use it. It's always the person you want to be on the commercial that doesn't use the product, or they absolutely hate it. And they're just getting paid thousands to do the product because they're really good looking or have a great bod or they're a big name. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. I hate that. I there was this really great picture, and it was in a I think it was in a hair cutting book in a salon I went to. And I always loved that picture of that girl. I managed to get a copy of that book. And when I went to beauty college, I showed it to my instructor. I said, I want my hair just like this. I want it cut like that. I want that color. I used to take it to every hairdresser's office. Can you make my hair look like this? And they would come a few bars and fake it, never come out right. Go to beauty college, show them that picture. And I said, I just love this girl's hair. The color, the style I just love it. And you know what they say? You know what it really was? It was a flipping wig. Yeah, it was a wig. Okay? And it was an advertisement for a hair color box. Yeah, that's right. It was a wig. You cannot replicate a plastic damn wig that's made out of Crayola crayon hair dye. You know what I mean? It's, it's not going to replicate onto the human hair. It's no such thing. It's like trying to grow a kitty cat out of a flower pot. It just doesn't happen. Okay? So, yeah. So make sure you have faith in the company you work for. Make sure that when you go back in that back house kitchen and you're a server, that the chefs are clean, the food's proper, that you would eat there. If you won't eat there, don't work there. If you work at the Mercedes dealer and you won't drive a Mercedes, don't work there. It's not going to look good when that customer sees you drive out in a Cadillac. It's not working real good. It's not a good thing, you know. Um, Work for a company that you like the product. Work for a company you know your coworkers are working in rhythm. They're all working together. They're all watching each other. They're all careful that the food products are safe. That you can really trust these people. That you know that you would eat in your own place, your own deli, your own dinner house, whatever it takes, because you know you can trust everybody from front house to back house. That's right. That's right. So yeah, deli is a very difficult situation because there's a lot of things involved: heat factors, cold factors, cleanliness factors, a ton, a ton. It's got to be right. It's absolutely got to be right. You have very short time spans on slicers, very short time spans on already cooked food, very short time spans to prepare sandwiches, cold sandwiches on a counter. That meat can't sit out that long. It can't sit out that long. It needs to be done rapidly. So if you're a worker that's making sandwiches, make sure you understand you need to get it done rapidly because the room temperature adjusts the length of the life of that meat, raw or cooked. That's right. And it's dangerous. Um, all these things are very important factors. If you're not into paying attention to that, studying that, don't do it. Don't work food and beverage. Don't do it. Really, please. You know, it's so, so, so important. So there's a lot of things involved in deli work. You know, um, let's see. Deep fat fryers is a huge danger with that. They will catch on fire if the temperature is not manned, whether it's computerized or not. Sometimes they do fail, and they can flash flame, which is super scary. Make sure you like the people you work with. You got knives, fryers, rotisseries, chemicals, you know, grocery stores. You have balers, which is a big giant trash can thing that can physically crush a car. If you load a car into it, you can see it on the internet, YouTube, where they actually put a car in there and crushed it. Although they want you to break down a box before you throw it in there. Why is beyond me. If you can crush a car in it, why on earth are we breaking boxes down? For what reason is that? That looks like a waste of payroll to me. If it can crush a car, why are we breaking cardboard boxes down before we throw them in a baler? So remember all these things, and they will help you so much. Whether you've never worked in a deli job before or you're considering working in a deli job or a dinner house or a cocktail lounge or Taco Bell or whatever it may be, food and beverage is very, very serious. There are regulations, there's very important factors to keep people safe. And that's before Corona showed up. It's just food and beverage, germs. germs that live getting hot food cold and cold food hot. There's so many things. With people who like to use cold water in washing sinks, and that is not safe. It's got to be hot. It's got to have the chemicals with it. You know how many bars I ever worked where like they would use dish soap because the owner was too cheap to buy the proper sanitizers and soaps for the bar sinks. And those are 3-step, just like in a deli, you know. And those sinks must be kept full and hot during times of operation of the business. At all times, Board of Health walks in there, they stick a tab in there, a little paper tab thing, you know, and it'll tell them how much chemicals in that water. If you fail, they write you up. That's right. They'll stick a thermometer in there to see how hot that water is. You better pray to God it's not ice cold. That's right. All these things are important factors, and it's there for a reason. Set in place for a reason. Cleanliness. Mm-hmm. So, make sure the people you work with are responsible from front to back. Make sure that you care to do it. I have worked with people that don't care. They don't want to clean a slicer. They don't want to wipe a counter. You know, um, uh, they they want to walk away from a fryer, um, and you can't do it. You can't do it. You know, so there's a lot of stuff entailed. I will tell you, deli pay is usually pretty high. Even way back when I was younger, under 21 to today is quite high. Um, it's not as high as produce. Produce can be very, very good payroll, especially if you're even a supervisor or a manager or sub manager of produce. It's very nice pay. Um, but usually any jobs that deal with front end work, the public, directly with the public, whether it's like an auto center or a customer service desk or produce or a deli, a lot of times in retail those are higher paying jobs than just the workers that are doing the work. Okay. And it said, yeah, it could be somebody. Yeah, that sucker faded again. Darn it, YouTube. But yeah, so it's a fun job. It is an easy job, even if you follow all the things you need to follow for cleanliness and safety. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it could be bad if somebody gets sick because of uncleanliness, then you probably get written up and maybe fired. And oh no, the best one is if you're running a slicer and it's expired, $1,000 fine to the cutter. That's just the beginning. You may have cost all of your coworkers a job when they shut that restaurant or deli down because of your stupidity. It's posted right there. They'll have little stickers or little placards or whatever on every slicer, on deli cases, or in the logbook for the chef that cooks the food in the fryers or rotisserie, wherever they're doing it, preparing sandwiches. They have logs for all that. Well, they have to write how many things they produced, what time, and all that kind of stuff. I watch those figures. Watch them. Watch your slicers. I don't care if you're manager or worker. Watch them. Watch them. Because it's mandatory. Like I say, a slicer can give listeria to a human being. Expired 4 hours. 4 hours, 1 minute. Slice a piece of meat. Sell that to a customer. It can give them listeria, amongst other things. That will kill you. You are dead Dead as a doornail, pushing up daisies, however you'd like to describe it. 6 foot under. That's right, dead. Okay? So, these things are vitally, crucially important. It's not a hard job. It's a fairly easy job. Time goes by super fast, just like in a produce job or a stocking job. You're constantly busy. You feel like you've been there an hour and a half and you've been there 8 hours. Easy, easy, easy. Just do what you're supposed to do. Be aware and be careful. You know, and the day goes by quickly. It's a very fun job. You get to talk to customers. They always want to talk to you. They come to the deli. They come to produce. They want to tell you about their boat ride or their friggin' new car or their wife's birthday or their new kitty cat. Who knows? They love to chat. So be that person. Be their new friend. Be their new friend that they'll make sure to come every Wednesday and do their grocery shopping, and they'll hope that you're there. So you'll have a few kind words to say to them. Because guess what? Every penny they spend in that business is going towards your paycheck. That's what keeps those doors open. If you're responsible, keep stuff clean, and to Board of Health specs, it keeps the doors open. Otherwise, I'm going to be a mad son of a gun if you work with me and you're not following Board of Health. And that man comes in with that clipboard making those check marks and says, "We are now closing." Shut the doors, get the customers out, empty this food out, start cleaning, or we're permanently closed for life. And you took my job? Let me tell you how that goes. Okay? Got to pay attention. Put a satisfied customer paid your check. It's really true. That's right. And they'll keep coming back. They will keep coming back. They're called regulars. And that regular money is guaranteed money. That's money you can depend on. In food and beverage in a bar, in a restaurant, in a grocery store. You got so many customers that are everyday type customers or once a week customer or whatever. And they kind of buy the same amount of stuff or maybe a little more sometimes. Well, you can depend on them. You're like, man, as long as they're living and breathing, they're going to be here every Wednesday and they're going to spend $100 every Wednesday. I have, 1,200 customers on Wednesday that are regulars just like that. They will spend that exact amount of money. How can I get more customers like that that will spend that amount of money or more? How can I get customers like that every day, the whole week, for a whole month, all year round? If you owned it, what would you do? That's the best question of all. If you were so smart, you'd own it. But then again, if you owned it, what would you do? That's a fact. Okay? Remember, slicers, cleanliness, food left out, getting warm, getting cold, not being prepared fast enough. Those are all important factors. Would you feed that to someone you love? Your mother, your father, your sister, your baby, your husband, your puppy dog? Would you, after it's expired? Would you sweat a bullet over it? Or would you just not care? Because those are things you need to ask yourself. Can you be responsible to work in food and beverage, a deli, or whatever, and say, you know what, everything I did today, I know nobody got sick. And they won't when I'm working. Or did you think maybe I'm unsure? Or did you think, I don't care, I'm not doing anything extra. I'm just there to serve some food. No. No, no, no. Do you know that if you're wearing an apron, say you work produce, say you work at a deli, say you work in a restaurant, did you know, by Board of Health regulation, your apron must come off when you go to the bathroom? Before you even enter that door, that apron must come off. You either get a fresh new one or you hang it on your own separate hook, whatever. Then you go to the restroom. Then you wash your hands and so forth. And then guess what? You come back out again and you wash your hands again. You put the apron on. You wash your hands again, then you put gloves on. Do you know that? Serious biz. You cannot walk out of the building, go to your car, hang out, whatever it is you do, and come back with the apron on. Doesn't work that way. Does it? These companies, especially grocery stores like the butcher shop, you know, where they're like cutting cows up and all that other stuff over there. They have several, uh, you know, the aprons and all the protective clothing, chef shirts, whatever it takes. And they usually have a cleaning service that handles all that. So they have stacks of them. And you put it on at work over your clothes at the door. When you leave, you take it off. It goes in a laundry chute thing, and usually a laundry service will come pick it up. That's right. That's a fact. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. And we'll go in more depth about other things later. Um, yes, there is rotation factor in a deli, in your coolers. Everything is dated with usually a permanent marker or a sticker. Um, and it's got to be set so that the the closest expiring box is on the top, so employees don't have to dig a bunch of boxes out and then put them all back in. There is a rotation factor. Every shipment comes in, it must immediately be marked with date. Whether it's a big giant black marker, make sure it's legible and it's really big numbers so people can see it, or it's stickers, or stickers that are read by a computer or some kind of scanner. There's a lot of different processes for that. Usually it's just a big giant black marker. And it's the month, okay, and the day, and I always write the year. Some people just write month and day. I'll write the year. Um, and that way, you know, make sure it's legible. You know, like how you learned how to write in kindergarten. Legible. It's you can tell the difference between a 4 and a 9. 4 has a pointy thing on the top. Okay, you ever seen people write like that? The 4 and the 9 that can't tell. Um, and it does have to be rotated out. That way, you use the box that needs to be used first. The other boxes don't go bad. It's the same thing in produce. It's the same thing in a restaurant. It's the same thing in a deli. It's all kind of the same. You don't want to waste food and just use whatever. Use the one that's closest to expiring first. And do not use anything expired. Okay? Thank you very much. And I'm still alive. Yeah. So, anyway, I hope that helped you so much. If you're considering a job in food and beverage, deli, at a grocery store, anything like that, fast food, these are really important factors. And you can't get away from it. You're not just going to go in there and like run the drive-through window. Okay? At one point in time, they're going to make you do something different. And most of those to-go joints, they want you to train in every part of the jobs. So there you have it, my friends. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions of things that I didn't go over, please don't hesitate to comment below. And if I can answer your question, I sure will. And if I don't know the answer, by gosh, I'll find somebody that does. Or I'll research it. And I'll try to answer you to the best of my ability. But always follow your dreams, and it's always fun to try something new. And there you have it. My true and open, honest review. All right. Talk to you guys later. I love you. Thanks for hanging out. It's been a slice of heaven. Do something kind for a stranger. I promise I will see you in the next one. That's a fact.